there booktube, it's Janet, and today I'm going to tell you about the books I've been reading over the last couple of weeks. The first book I've got to show you is Showstopper by Hayley Barker. This is an ARC copy. Eleanor had two, I think, so she gave me another one. And this is a dystopian YA novel, and it's all about prejudice and discrimination. Basically, there are two classes of people, the pures and the dregs. And the pures are very wealthy, have affluent lifestyles, very superior, and obviously the dregs are what you'd imagine it to be. They're not given any opportunities to progress and to do well. They're starving, the home conditions, if they have a home, are pretty poor. And so there's a group of dregs who perform in a circus that often as children they're sold into, and they're treated appallingly in this circus, and often the show is to the death, which the pures come and enjoy. And I started off rolling my eyes a little bit as I was reading this one, because I thought, all right, so we've got a little bit of, like, you know, it felt a bit Hunger Gamesy, but not as good. And in the end, as I progressed through it, I did end up giving it about 2.5, 3 stars. It was okay. There's obviously the star-crossed lovers, where one of the pures falls to one of the dregs. There's quite a bit of excitement in the rebellion that's obviously going to be taking place. And there is also there's the underground that's going on there that's trying to fight against the pures, and the whole sort of system that they've got set up. It is a series, so there's going to be more of these. I would read it if it came my way, but I wouldn't actually go out and look for it. It was okay, but it was a bit tropey and predictable, but nonetheless it was an okay read. It was a quick read. Next book I've got to tell you about is was an absolute blown away 5-star read for me, and this is The House at the Edge of Night by Catherine Banner. This again is an art copy that I picked up in a charity shop, and I absolutely adored it. This book is set on a remote island off the coast of Sicily, and it spans the family over a 90-year period that the story is about. And The House at the Edge of the Night is actually the little bar on the island that the family runs, and it takes the form of, what it does is it explains that the events of the world can have that ripple effect as it goes on. So even though, say, the financial crisis, which the book sort of ends with, happens, you know, in America, in London, the actual ripple effect of that can impact even a very, very remote community like the one in the story. And so through the eyes of this generational family, which you will come to love, you'll love the people on the island, you will love the people, you'll love the family. My heart was so invested in them, but you see that the impact of things that they have absolutely nothing to do with, and, you know, are far beyond the comprehension of what's going on in the world, how they impact on their community and their family and their lives. And obviously we span members of the island and the family having to go to the war, and it's just so, I just loved it. I fell in love with some of the characters. I loved the way that every member of this community had a role and a part to play, like even the old ladies on the island were respected as the elders. They had the communal approach to bringing up children, and I can't praise it highly enough. I had book hangover for days after I read this. It's a perfect beach read, and read it, it's great. The next book I've got to tell you about is a graphic memoir, and this is Fun Home, a family tragicomic by Alison Bechdel. Now, I'd wanted to read this for ages, and because it sounded like it was going to be really interesting. It's all about Alison Bechdel and her family, who run a funeral home, but also her father at the same time is a school teacher. He's a very eccentric man. He's quite a bully in the home, but he's very pernickety. He's doing up this old home and everybody's got to do what he wants when he wants to. And also at the same time, Alison is discovering that she's a lesbian, and underneath it all, it turns out that her father actually has been a gay man living a secret life, really. The family is just a ruse. And it had so much potential, but then it just sort of... Again, I almost felt like Alison Bechdel was showing off that she was well read and that she'd read Proust and all. And so you just get so many references to this, and so many where the book just goes off at a tangent, that the narrative and the memoir sort of fell away, and you just got like this philosophical bubble around it, and actual events and things that happened seemed to be secondary, and she just sort of went off on one, and I just didn't enjoy it, and so I was really disappointed with it. It could have been great, but it was a bit meh. I think it's going to be going to the charity shop. Final book I've got to tell you about is 6 Stories. This is by Matt Wesolowski. And this author is from the northeast of England, so it was quite refreshing to read a book written by someone and set in that part of the country, in Northumberland. And I'd never heard of this book at all until Brittany from Under the Radar Books was raving about it. And so obviously I had to get it, but don't tell anybody that I've been buying books during Shelf Slam. So I really wanted to read it, and apparently there's a podcast called Serial, which I've never heard of, but this is what the book is based on. And apparently Serial is where they look at cold cases, and on each episode they explore it from different angles. So this is what the premise of the book is about. Basically it follows a journalist who has a podcast that looks at cold cases and interviews the main protagonists in what happened to try and see if they can uncover the truth. And so it follows the story of a group of friends who go to, it's like a wildlife retreat, you know, like an outdoorsy kind of centre. And the dynamic is kind of a little bit toxic between this group of friends, and one of them goes missing one night, and then a year later his remains are found. But although there was suspicion cast on some people, it was just basically ruled as a death by misadventure, and there was no conviction, but also it wasn't really regarded that it was an accident, that it was actually a murder. And so you start to see the story from all these different perspectives, and it keeps you guessing all the way through, and you hear these different voices, and I really enjoyed it. And it started off quite slow for me, but it sort of crept up on me, and as I was getting into it I then couldn't put it down because I had to find out what happened. So I thoroughly recommend it. Really good read, rapid page turn. I mean, it's not even that big, but it's just so well done and so unique, so I thoroughly recommend that one. So that's what I've been reading over the last few weeks. Let me know if you've read any of these and what you think. I will see you all soon. Keep reading. Bye.